All righty, everyone. This is Jim Collins, and welcome to another episode of Journey to the Pit. Tonight we have a special guest on tonight, as always. Tonight is a little bit different because this is going to be the beginning, the first interview of the Journey to the Pit marathon that we're going to be doing, about 10 interviews in a row. So tonight we have Jay Riddles on from Pride, Hawk Pride Gamefarm, and we're going to bring him in a second here. Just give me 1 second. But I hope y'all guys are all tuning in. Tonight will be the first night. Actually, we'll be doing the live stream on Journey to the Pit 362 fan page. And the reason why we moved it over here and took it away from hosting it on my Jim Collins personal page was because many people who are not on my friends list could not comment on the interview. So we moved it over to the Journey to the Pit fan page. And this way it doesn't require you to be on my friends list in order for you to comment. So that's great. So I'm going to go ahead and bring Jay Riddles in a second. Just trying to wait a few minutes to let everybody get logged on. Because like I said, this is our first time of doing this interview from this Journey to the Pit fan page. Everything is looking good. Jay is on standby, waiting to be brought in on the interview, which we are all excited to be doing this interview tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and bring Jay Riddles in. Guys, if y'all have any comments or questions, please feel free to post them down in a comment. We will try to answer maybe a few questions tonight. Typically we don't answer a lot of questions during the interviews due to the fact that the interviews typically go long enough. And when we start to get into answering questions and stuff, these interviews can go over 2 hours long. So, but let me go ahead and bring our special guest in tonight. Hope y'all guys enjoy this special show that we have tonight and our special guest. So here we go. Hello, Mr. Jay Riddles. How you doing this evening?
Doing fine, Jim. How are you?
I'm doing great. The audio and everything is good on your end. Can you hear me well?
Yeah, I hear you good.
All right, good, man. We already got people logging in and watching so far, which is great. Just want to go ahead and introduce our special guest tonight. Y'all guys have seen a post that I have been posting over the last week about our special guest. Many of you guys know him. He go by the name of Jay Riddles of Hawk Pride Game Farms. And Jay, where are you located out of? Is it Kentucky or Tennessee?
I'm from Alabama.
Oh, Alabama. Okay, Alabama. I've been trying to put all these darn interviews together this week, and people from all over. So you from Alabama? What part of Alabama you from?
Tuscaloosa.
Tuscaloosa. Okay. How far is that from Birmingham?
Probably 2.5 hours.
Is it south or is it?
Yeah, south. No, we
Okay,
north.
it's south.
No, we're north.
North of Birmingham.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because I've been in the south and I'm like, huh. All right, so you north. All right, well, listen, we're going to go ahead and before we get started, I always talk say our disclaimer to make sure that everybody is clear that all the information discussed in this interview is for historical, educational, and entertainment purposes only. None of this information is intended for any illegal purposes, and all opinions are respected of the individual. So now we can get the rocking and rolling. So Jay, why don't you go ahead and get us started off with how old were you? When you got into game fowl, are you a first generation, second generation cocker? Let's kind of start off with your back history so you can kind of walk us through the whole story.
Well, first time I ever seen chickens fight was when I was probably about 6 years old. My uncle was in the game fowl.
Oh,
He wasn't in
okay.
it steadily. He was in it,
Right.
in and out. He was more of a hacker.
Okay.
And my first seeing them was of my dad and my uncle doing them up under a house in a basement.
Wow. So that was your first time. You said you was about 6 years old?
Yeah, 6 or 7 year old. We'd climb
Wow.
up under the houses and catch them because they'd run because they was fighting barnyards and each other and
Right.
then my dad found a guy that had game chickens, and once they got that game chicken, they whooped everything my uncle could get, and we'd eat the others.
So I guess you kind of, well, I ain't going to say, I guess you can kind of say second generation, but it seems like your dad actually was not into the game foul. Actually, y'all kind of, well, I ain't gonna say started at the same time because you was only 6 years old, but your dad and your uncle kind of got into it as you were growing up.
Yeah, they played around with it, and then later on, when I was about 14 or 15 year old, I went to a hack fight, and that day I seen them, I bought me one.
You bought you one. What now? Have you always been located in Alabama?
Yeah, yeah, from Alabama.
Okay. Well, uh-huh.
Yeah, from Alabama. I've
So
always lived in Alabama.
always lived in Alabama. So I guess the first time you seen him, it kind of captivated you, and you were just like hooked from that point on, huh?
Oh yeah, from that day on, I just started accumulating, birds. Uh, I seen that one I bought that day win 3 fights in a row, and the guy that sold it to me probably thought it wouldn't live.
Right.
And,
So that's how you got your first one.
yeah, $25.
$25. Well, tell me this, Jay. Do you remember uh, who your uncle and your father kind of got their first chickens from?
Well, I don't know where they was getting the barnyards, but the first game chicken they ever bought was from Jimmy Triplett.
Say that name one more time.
Jimmy Triplett.
Jimmy Triplett. Okay,
Yeah.
was he also located in Alabama?
Yes, sir.
So what did they kind of start off with? Did they buy a trio, or they just went and bought a couple stags, or what did they start off with?
Well, they just buying them to hack into each other. And
Right.
then I started going to the hack fight with my uncle over there, and from then on it was hack fights, and then up to the derbies.
Up to the derbies. Up to the derbies. So tell me this: did your father kind of get more deeper into it as you grew older, or you know?
Well, once I got into it, then me and him partnered up later on. uh,
Right.
and
Right.
started raising. He had probably 150, 200 at his place, and I had that many or maybe a few more at my place.
Okay. So that's kind of how you. So y'all guys kind of, I would say, kind of grew into it, both together, huh? As you got older, he got deeper into it. You obviously got deeper into it, and that's kind of how y'all guys kind of set the foundation, huh?
Yep. Yep.
Tell me this: as you grew older, who do you remember purchasing your first game chickens from when you really kind of got serious? Besides the hack birds, or did you convert the hack birds into the derby birds over time?
Well, I tried the ones I'd buy, get out and run around and find. I tried breeding one of those to a hen a guy'd give me, and they was both red, and they come out doms, and they was faster than a Mustang. You couldn't catch them.
What?
So
You said you couldn't catch him, huh?
no, my uncle knew Billy James and Bruce
Uh-huh.
James up on the mountain, and I went up there with him, and I ended up getting a rooster from Bruce, and got my hens
Okay.
from Billy James, and that's when I started
Okay.
raising the real stuff.
And so how old do you think you were around that time?
Probably 17, 18 year old.
So that's when you kind of got your real game chickens from some real breeders at that time.
Yeah, I'd been just mostly hacking. I'd fought a couple, three
Right.
derbies before then.
Three
Just got
derbies before then.
got lucky and won all three of those with chickens. I just find, out searching for them, see them on the strings, and stop and ask, if they wanted to sell any.
Right. And I'm going to get to the part where you just left off the Billy James thing, but let's back up a little bit because I want to talk about, what you when you had your hack chickens, you end up winning. You said three derbies with your hack chickens, right?
Yeah, yeah. Uh, First time I went down to Grandma Hester's place. That's been
Okay.
years ago. That's back in the early 90s. And let's say, and went 5 straight down there. Didn't know a thing about a chicken. Won it solo. It wasn't, but I think it was 18 entries in it. It was small derby,
Okay.
but I soloed
Okay.
it, and I didn't know a thing about a chicken then.
Not
Uh,
that. So tell me, how old were you back then?
about 18-year-old.
So about 18 years. So we got to walk the guests through this, so they can make sure they understand. You won a derby, like you said, about 18 entries. Um, and these were birds that you considered back then hack chickens. And it was from, you would ride around Alabama, or at least in your area, and see birds cocks out on a tie cord, and going over and ask them to buy them, huh? So that's how you acquired them.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, I'd get out and hunt them country roads and find them, or my uncle would tell me where something was at, and I'd just knock on the door or catch a guy outside and ask him, would he sell me some? And usually, a lot of them try to just put them one-eyedens on you and them rough ones. But I didn't care back then, I just wanted roosters.
You just
And
wanted roosters. And so you basically didn't know what you were buying, like as far as bloodlines. You just knew you was just buying a rooster.
game roosters. But ones I won that first derby with was a guy down in Cherokee. His name was Ronnie James, and he wasn't no kin to Billy, but he had got some hatch blood from Billy James and bred it to Brunner
Okay.
Roundhead. And
Okay.
I bought about 10 roosters from him, and then here and there I picked up some, and I think I had like four that come from him was half Billy James hatch, and
Right.
which around here everybody that had chickens, any that wanted to sell chickens would say Billy James, Uh,
Because they knew it was sell then, huh?
yeah, well, it was gonna sell to me regardless, I didn't care if it was Frank James, I'd buy them.
So tell me this, Jay. So you get through, you win your first, you soloed your first derby. You said it was a small derby, by 18 entries. But what I would like the viewers to understand, or at least listen to, is the story behind that. Like you said a few minutes ago, that you didn't know anything really about, I guess you would say, pointing or feeding out or anything like that. This was your first derby. You didn't know anything about how to feed or anything like that. Is that correct?
That's right. I found about a half a page of a Gamecock book, and it had the ingredients for a keep, and I went by it. It didn't tell you how to how much to feed them or whatever. It just had the ingredients. It had on there milk, uh, popcorn, and your feed mixture, which I got all that
Right.
and mixed it up. And I didn't know the difference in it. I got me some whole milk out of a gallon, and I didn't know how to feed it. I just waited till the night before the derby, and the popcorn, I popped it, and I didn't know no better. I popped the popcorn, and then fed them the popcorn, and then after that, I got up about 3 o'clock in the morning. We was leaving out at 4:30. I got up, went up there, and give them all a teaspoon of whole milk and chopped up egg whites, and
Chopped up egg whites. But I want to make sure everybody hear the fact that you said that, the way you kind of did your feeding, you got a page that you found out of a Gamecock, and it had just the ingredients, not how much to feed or anything like that. And one of the ingredients was popcorn. And you said you actually popped the popcorn and
yeah.
fed it to the rooster. You didn't even realize that they meant to give them the kernels, because you didn't know. You didn't know, right? You had never fed out no chickens.
No, I figured that's the way I liked it. I figured that's the way they needed to get it.
That is amazing. So you actually popped the popcorn and they ate it.
Yeah, yeah. I broke it up small for them, and they eat the crap out of it. They probably was hungry.
Get out of here. So tell me this, Jay. So then you said you fed them whole milk and chopped egg whites, right?
Yeah.
And you didn't even, did it say whole milk, or did it just say milk?
It said milk on it. Said one you needed a can of milk. It said can of milk, but I didn't have no can of milk, so I used milk, whole milk. That's all I had.
Right,
I didn't
right,
figure it
right.
mattered. I mean, if it come in a can or in a jug.
That's right. That is the most amazing story I have heard. So you got a page that you found out of a Gamecock. It had the ingredients on it. The ingredients were popcorn. Did it tell you when to feed, or what when you were supposed to feed that stuff?
No, it was just had the mixture down through there, how to mix your feed, and then your point feed was the popcorn, and I just mixed it up best I knowed how because I didn't know anything. Just got lucky.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And then you said you went on to the Derby and you soloed it. Even it was a small Derby, but still doesn't matter if it's big or small. I mean, you still soloed it and you did it. But tell me this. How was the birds acting? When it was showtime, how were they acting? Now that we know what you used to point them out, how were they acting?
They was acting sharp now. They
They were, huh?
they all every one of them won in the fly except for one. Went about 2 hours in the drag against Mr. Lewis Beard, and it was a $15 white rooster.
A $15 white rooster. You won with them in 2 hours in the drag.
Yep.
Wow. I know this story is you've been through it and but I'm pretty sure a lot of people watching is going to be fascinated that it is. So tell me this, in a keep, back then, you not knowing anything, did you even put a keep on them?
I wrapped some tin around some trees, it was, and built tin around and just stretched wire over and cut holes and got them out with nets. And my
What?
keep, I tie 20-foot string to their leg and throw them up in the air as many times, as till they got plumb wore out.
Get out of here. So you tied a string to their legs and threw them in the air to work them out back then?
Yeah, and then after that, my uncle started doing it, and we had to get the ladder, go up a pole and get his down. He got it caught over the power line.
You gotta be joking.
Yeah,
He threw him up and I guess he kept on going, huh?
yeah, he hung him over the power line.
Wow, that is
And
some history there. When you sit back and think about that and look back, I know you got to shake your head, huh?
yeah, we put them gloves on them things, and we'd let them spar until they couldn't hit a dang lick. I mean, they was in shape time we took them.
Wow. And you said when you worked them, y'all, and again, you not knowing, you're
I
kind of
didn't
just
know.
doing this all on a whim, huh?
Yeah, I didn't know nothing. Nobody had told me nothing. I mean, I just didn't even know what a derby was until that first one I went to. It was real exciting,
Wow.
I'll tell you, to win that thing.
That gave you a lot of confidence, did it?
Yeah.
Tell me this, when after that first derby, did you change anything or did you think you had it all right since you won?
Oh, I had it right. I thought I was good, but we
Right.
we tried the same roosters, which none of them got hurt. Size one, that and Lewis Beard cut all the pieces, but we put them same roosters up, and one that was real cold, and my dad had an idea, let's get some heating pads, warm their feet up. So that didn't work
Right.
out too good. They was so dry they couldn't cut paper.
What? So
Yeah,
he went, it was real cold out, so your father suggested that y'all use some heating pads.
yeah, we put heating pads under the straw on every chicken, and dried them up. I guess it had to be what it was.
Wow. And y'all seen a complete difference the next time y'all went around.
Oh yeah, we come home with our heads hung down a little lower this time.
Wow. So tell me something. Back then, did what did y'all guys go through the process to kind of figure out, like what did we do wrong? What did we do different? That made this outcome the way it is now.
I I figured it out later on in the years thinking about it, but back in I didn't
Right.
know what had happened. I just know that I said them things wasn't no count this time. That's what I was thinking.
Right, right. No, that's right. I understand. And the only reason I asked you them questions because again, you were figuring this out as you was going along. So I was just interested, how long did it take you? But I guess once you got older and got more experience, you can kind of reflect back and see the things that, that you maybe did wrong that
Yeah,
caused
well,
that outcome.
we knowed we didn't want no more heating pads after that. I know that.
And y'all put the heating pads, you said, because it was so cold, huh?
It was cold. And we didn't have no place for them or nothing. I'd found an old bookshelf laying out beside the road that had them big holes in it, split up
Right.
in half. Stuffed them up in there and nailed wire over them, pulled the nails down to get them out. That's all we had with a tarp over them.
Wow. That is amazing. That's the history of just the good old days.
Yeah.
Wow. So tell me this. You talked a little bit about, now we can kind of fast forward back where we left off. Is you said Mr. Billy James, you had got some roosters, or you got a hen from him, and then you got a stag or a cock from someone else. Tell us how that all started.
Well, went up and visit Billy and met Billy and stuff, which I'd seen him at the Derby before, but didn't really know
Hmm.
who he was. And Uncle took me up there, and I met Billy. And then we went over Billy's brother's house, Bruce. So I ended up
Okay.
buying a rooster from Bruce, and the hens. Billy just give me the hens, uh,
Okay.
and I crossed them hatch hens over a round head Kelso rooster, and
Okay.
them roosters right there was about unstoppable back in. Uh,
Well, tell me this. What were they? We know who they came from. Were they hatches, Kelsos? What were they?
well, the rooster was a round head and Kelso, and the hens were half Curtis Blackwell and half Billy James McLean, and made them a quarter Kelso, quarter round head, and half McLean, two different McLeans.
Two different McLeans, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, tell me this. Tell me this, Jay. So, how did they look?
They
Were they
there's every one of them white legged. Some of them dark shawl, and some of them light shawl. White tail feather. Looked like kind of either a Kelso or round head. They all did.
they kind of look like a Kelso round head, huh?
Yeah.
What was the station on them? Like, how were they built?
They was about medium station.
About medium station?
Small, medium station roosters, about 4'9" to 4'12", biggest one.
Wow, so they were that small, huh?
Mm-hmm. They had good legs on them. They's good made roosters. They just small weights.
They were just small. And tell me this, Jay. What do you think the smallest came from? Any particular bloodline in that you think maybe that the size came
Time of
from?
the year. Time of the year I hatched them off. I got them later in the year.
Okay. Okay, so that was kind of just a hatch thing that made them kind of small like that, because they normally a little bigger than that, huh?
Oh yeah, the brood rooster was probably 5'2", and the hens was pretty good size. So time of the
Right,
year I hatched them off late.
right, right. Okay, so tell me this, Jay. So was that kind of the start of that line right then? Where you started to kind of shift it into the next gear?
Well, that's the start. I started with Billy and Bruce, and went from there, and got some pure blood from Billy and pure Kelsos, and then I had his pure hatch, and well, I had probably a little bit of everything he had at one time,
Right, right.
until
So
I
that's kind of
found,
where you was just getting all your brood stock from.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
It was it
tell
was
me
the
this, Jay. Do
go-to
you
spot, Jim. Back in, that was the best place to get
That was the best place to get them.
them.
And
Everybody was
listen, while
getting
we
them.
talking about Mr. Billy James, can you tell us a little bit about him, since that's kind of was your I ain't gonna say mentor at the beginning, but somebody you established your relationship from to start to get your brood fowl from. So tell us a little bit about Mr. Billy James.
Well, Billy was about as nice a feller you could ever meet, and generous, and I mean everybody that talked to him, he talked to him like his best friend. He just treated everybody like kinfolk, and
Hmm.
and uh, he was a real chicken man. Now he sure had a good winning record, and humble. He was real humble. Uh, I considered him like my grandfather. He was me and him was real tight, and I'm sure a lot of other people was tight with him too.
Wow.
He was he was so humble, to as good as he was.
And tell me this, and I know a lot of people know Mr. Billy James and some people don't, but one of the things he is definitely known for was the amount of derbies he won. And what that number was that you said he won in derbies?
584 is what he told me.
584. How long was he in Gamefowl?
Since the late 50s, I believe what he said.
Wow. So he put in a lot of time, and he must have been showing like all the time, very consistently, huh?
Yeah, they had their own pit and stuff up there close to their house right there, right across a little old dirt road. Bruce had a pit there for years.
Wow.
All the what they call legends and stuff fought there at that time. A lot of them.
Right. Was that still located in Alabama?
Yeah, Tuscumbia.
Tuscumbia, Alabama. Wow, that is just amazing. So you said you established obviously a great relationship with Mr. Billy James, and that was obviously in your younger years. So did he become like kind of like your mentor?
Oh yeah. He taught me about everything I know about chickens and about life too. He
Right,
was always honesty first. Anything you do.
right, right, right. So tell me this. Obviously you started to get your brood stock and stuff like that from him. Um, you know, kind of like when you all started, how did you start to get your setup and stuff put together, and kind of how did you start to put your little farm together that you had now that you was getting more deeper and deeper into the game fowl?
Well, first pens I ever had, I just got a roll of wire and made the round pens. They looked about, it wasn't much bigger than a tomato thing, like they stick tomatoes with. Probably
Right,
about that big around, which that wasn't no good breaking tail feathers and stuff. It was just a learning thing. And then
right,
later on, started making. Bruce James had some round pens up there, and I started making them like his. I
right,
think it was about 39 inches across, round all the way around, and had a piece of uh, this power line, like they run power lines on the bottom to keep them from bending, and then you
right.
run your cedar pole across them and a tin top. That's the first pens that really I had to put all my stags. Matter of fact, I still got some of them now. It's probably about 60-year-old.
Get out of here! You still got some of those old pins, round pins from back then, huh?
Yeah, I bought Bruce's. When Bruce got out, I bought all his pens and his chickens.
And his chickens.
Yeah.
Tell me this, Jay. What made y'all guys? It was any particular reason y'all used the cedar roost inside the pens?
Wouldn't they'd last longer. Cedar's hard to rot out.
Okay,
And
so y'all kind of for the durability and the time that it lasts a lot longer than just regular wood.
and keep your pen, big log across it to keep them from blowing over.
Right. That with the cedar. So okay, so now you got your pins, you starting to grow, you starting to set up. What would you say was your first line of birds that you kind of set on your own? Like that you started, it was your breeding or your decision making when you did the breeding. What how old were you back then and what were they?
Let's see. And about probably around 93 or 94, Doc Robinsons. Uh, I still got them.
You
Them's
still got
mine,
them, huh?
yeah, still got them.
So
They just as
so Jay, how
good,
you come
as
about
they was.
those?
Huh?
I said, how did you come about getting those?
Well, I got lucky on it. Uh, Hank Staggs would give Billy a rooster he'd got from what was his name? I can't think of the guy's name, but come from
Okay.
the same place Lewis Beard got his from. The guy died, and she gave Hank what chickens was left, and the gaff box what calves was left, and he gave Billy rooster and stuff, and I ended up with the stuff he gave Billy because Billy didn't want to breed it. He said he had good hatch, he didn't need it, so. I was just up there one day and seen it, and I knew every chicken he had. And I said, "What is that, Billy?" And he said, "That's Doc Robinson stuff." Said, "You can have it if you want it." Said, "I ain't gonna do nothing with it." and I got them, and I
Wow.
just made a family out of them.
You made how many was it?
Two,
Oh, just two, huh? And you
just a
said you made
pair.
a family out of those, started from there.
Yep,
Wow. So that's how you start with your Doc Robin. You said you still have them today, huh?
yep. Uh, wouldn't be in it if I didn't.
What? So what type of birds are they? How they look? What they built like? Tell us a little bit about them.
They medium station hatch roosters. Some of them come when I first got them. They was light necked, but I like a darker rooster, so I just bred to the dark side, and got them coming dark.
Okay.
And they about 5 pound, well, 412 to 5.5 in that range there,
O-
and
okay.
they all look about identical. Sometimes
Wow.
I got a straight cone, and I hadn't been getting no straight cone until a few years ago when I bred him. So now I got some of them coming straight cones.
So tell me this: how long did it take you to get them to start looking identical?
Well, probably about 5 years to get them
About
all
five
coming.
years, you started getting them. They started looking real uniform.
Yeah, started coming out where they just look about identical.
Wow. So Jay, tell me this: what type of breeding strategy do you use? Brother to sister, father to daughter, mother to son.
I started out with that, and then went son to daddy to daughter, and then son to mama, and then I
Hmm.
took a breeding out of that and went back over to old rooster and one back over to old hen, and just went from there. And then
So then
later,
it was granddaughter to grandfather and grandson to grandmother.
yeah, and then later on, Mr. Beard, Lewis Beard, give me a pure dark hen to freshen them up, and that's about all they've had in them.
Wow. And you said you had them in the early 90s, huh?
Yeah,
And you still have them today.
yep, still got them.
So that's about 30 years almost, pretty much. 25,
Almost.
30, almost 30 years. So tell me this, Jay. So how, what are some of the things you've been doing? And I know, Mr. Billy James had been around for some time. Um, but what were you doing in that 25 years to kind of keep them consistent and usable?
This is the same thing I was doing there, just breeding. Something there happened.
The darn screen went out. I'm sorry about that. For some reason, the connection just blanked out. Jay, can you go ahead and repeat that over again? Did you lose connection on your end?
Yeah, went blank.
Oh, it did go blank. Okay, I don't know what that was about. I'm just sitting here looking. Okay, well, we back up. So I'm sorry about that, everybody. But Jay, go ahead. You said you kind of the same thing you have been doing just consistently over the
And
last 20 years.
breed like a uncle and niece, and so on. Try to stay as far away from them, with the same kin folk as I can.
Right, right. So kind of like line breeding, basically, distance
Yeah,
cousins and that type of stuff.
cousins, uncles, and yeah, just
Right,
pick the
right.
best, best looking rooster out of the bunch, and the best looking hen, and best acting.
And just go from there.
Yeah.
So tell me this. So they kind of looking just, you said you got them to kind of look consistent after about 5 years, and you have just kept them like that from that point on, huh?
Yeah, yeah. Until I wanted to, like I said a few years back, I had one pop out straight cone out of them. Never had one, and I bred him, and now I've got some coming straight cone. So I'm gonna try to keep that straight cone going too.
Right. So tell me this, the ones that's coming out straight comb, besides the comb, do the body and everything kind of still look identical?
Yep, just the head a little different. Got gonna have a old ugly head on them.
Say have an ugly head on them.
That's
Well, tell
right.
me this, Jay. So let's start to talk. We got a really good idea about your bloodlines and that kind of stuff, and kind of how you started. The age you started. when you start to get your original brood stock and stuff like that. Let's talk a little. Let's shift the conversation. Talk a little bit about kind of like your setup. Do you have your birds in round pens, square pens, tie cords? Kind of how do you like to keep your birds there at the farm?
Well, I like to put the cocks on tie cord and the older stags on tie cord, and but I usually start out with up till last year I didn't have nothing but the round pens, and I'd start them out in the round pens to stags as I catch them up, and then from
Hmm.
there, take them, put them on string, and our bigger square pens, and now I've got me some of the Mexican pens that I'm working on,
Okay,
and I'm gonna just probably go straight to the Mexican pens with the stags.
with the stags. So now when you catch your stags up, they'll pretty much go to the Mexican pins, and then from the Mexican pins to the tie cords.
Yeah,
What age do you take? Do you start to take them from the pins to the tie cords?
they probably uh, just when their spurs start getting hard. Sometimes they'll be 10, sometimes they'll be 11, 12 months old.
Okay, I got you. I got you. So and from that point on, so you have the stags. You catch them. I obviously let them run as free as long as you can let them run free. You pin them up. You said you use round pins, but you're going more so towards the square Mexican pins now. And they move from the Mexican pins out to the tie cords. You said around when their spurs start to get hard, or from the ages of maybe 10 months on.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah. I just
Okay.
like the Mexican pens a little better than round pens because it's easy access to get them out and worm them and delouse and stuff like that. They hard
Right.
to get out of the round pens.
They're a lot harder. It seems like it's like a Ferris wheel when you're trying to chase some things about them round pins.
Oh yeah, rolling it over and
Right.
I'm I ain't young as I used to be. I can still get them, but I ain't as quick.
That's right. Listen, Jay, there's Ryan York asks what are round pins. I put his question up on the screen. I'll let you answer that.
It's just a round. Take your wire and round it until it ends. Like take you 10, 10 foot of wire, put it where it connects and wire it together, and put you something at your bottom like I use. You can use like the plastic pipe, the black pipe for plumbing.
Right.
Put that on the bottom, just something to keep it from bending in, because the wire they
Right.
make nowadays ain't no count. Uh,
Right.
so something like that, and just a roost pole in it and a tin top. Bend your wire over and put you a tin top on it. That's the way I do them,
Got you. Got
or
you.
the
And you
way
said
I
that's the
did.
Mexican pins.
Yeah. Do what?
Now, Jay, you said that's the Mexican pin, the Mexican style.
That's the round pen.
That's the round pins. And how about the Mexican pins?
They kind of like a dropout pen, but bigger, But they snap together. Uh, they
Right.
come unfolded, and you put them together. I'm sure you've seen them. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, I seen thousands of them. But tell me this, Jay. What sizes are your pins?
uh, them ones I'm using out there, I think a 40 by 40s, I believe.
Okay,
Uh,
okay, 40 by 40s. How tall are they?
uh, Probably the same. I hadn't measured, but they look like about 40 inches or
40.
foot, something like that.
So 40. Okay, I got you. I mean, I seen them, but I know it's people watching that probably never seen them
Well,
before. So I just want to make sure they get a good idea.
they just like the ones Tyler and them have down there at Swift Creek.
Yep. Okay, I got you. So yeah, about 40 by 40, something like that, and four. Yeah. So 40 40 40 is probably what they are. I don't know the exact measurements, but that sound about right.
Yeah, we was working on getting the bottoms and putting sand in them, and we had that flood come through here and just messed me up pretty bad, about a month and a half ago.
Right, right, right. So that I know that was kind of hard. I see Jim Sherlock said that the pins are 39 by 39, I guess by 39. So I guess that's the answer. Ryan, that's your answer to your question. Looks like the Mexican pin size from what Jim Sherlock is saying is 39 by 39.
Sounds
They're
about
very
right.
common. Yeah, they're very common. A lot of people use them. They snap together, very really convenient. And from the ones that I have seen, some of the guys had, they pretty strong too. They seem to be pretty sturdy. Yeah, it seemed like a couple guys are chiming in with the same thing. So I guess they 39 by 39. So Jay, tell me this: how many do you raise? How many do you raise, say, on an average per season?
Well, probably around 100 is for
Hmm.
myself. Is about all
Hmm.
I used to raise. I'd set off 400 or 500 and end up with 100. After you cull through them
Right,
and stuff. But
right.
now that I'm selling some, I used to wouldn't sell a feather, but now that I'm selling some, I'm setting off about 800.
About 800. Wow. Okay, I got you. I got you. And it's kind of the same line that you already have been using. I mean, been
Same
breeding, correct?
thing. Whatever I sell is the same thing that I use for myself when I used them.
Right. Right. So Jay, tell me this. Now with you setting that mini, how, do you use incubators, natural hatch, a combination of both?
Combination of both. I use hens and incubator. All the early
Okay.
ones mostly incubator. Uh,
Okay. All the early ones mostly incubator.
yeah,
Okay, so you use a combination of both. So natural hatch and incubate. And you said you set off about 800 last season, huh?
yeah. Hmm.
Wow, wow. So tell us a little bit about, have you always used Well, probably. I don't know if you haven't always used incubators, have you?
No, I used to didn't use them at all. For myself, the ones I raised for myself was all hen hatched.
Right,
But if you're gonna sell chickens, I mean, you've got to have an incubator.
right, right. I mean, 800 is a lot to be doing natural hatch, and then I would think your hatch rate and your raising rate will be pretty. I'm not going to say low, but I think it'd be lower than it would be if it was an incubator.
Yeah,
Um,
if you don't use an incubator, you'll throw as many eggs away before you have a hen setting. As you
right,
as you get there at first, you'll throw
right.
200 or 300 eggs away or more.
Right, right. Tell me this, Jay. Since you started out, let's just talk a little bit. You have any tips or any advice, with the natural hatching? Because like at first you said you raised only 100 or something like that at the beginning, doing all kinds of natural, just doing the natural hatching. You know, with your natural hatching, did you have a system kind of to it, or did you have a particular hens? I hear all different types of techniques that guys use. They use land hens, taking eggs from here, putting them on the land hen. What kind of concept or methods do you use at your farm?
Well, just gather my eggs every day
Mhm.
and put them up, keep them rotated until I have a hen set, and take her eggs away, and then put the marked eggs under and let her hatch them. And just
Got you.
because she hatches them, don't mean she's gonna get to raise them. Some of them's just hatching, and then you got some that'll raise them. Some ain't good mamas.
Got you. That's a very good point. So, like you say, just because she hatched them, that don't mean she'll raise them.
No, some of them kill them, and then you got some hens that'll take, no matter what color they are, they'll take any chick. And that's the ones you want
Wow.
raising them.
That's the ones you want raising them. I know we had Sean Cooper on and he talked about that's kind of the same thing that he did. He said he would have like 60 or 70 of them little chicks with a hen, and they actually did pretty good.
Yeah. Uh, I usually, since I've been using the incubator, I use the boxes like Jason Campbell come up with,
O-
uh,
Okay,
without the lights in them. Outside, when they're a month old, you put about 40 or 50 to about a 3 foot by 3 foot box, and
okay,
with a door on it. And I just build the frames and then lay a piece of tin on the top with blocks on it. Open the doors
okay,
after they've been in there one day, where they know where to go back to at night, and the body heat will keep them warm.
okay. So you don't use the lights,
Not after they're a month old. I take them out of my brooders and take them and put them in the little wooden houses, I call them, and
right?
also use Uh, I didn't know it worked till last year, but a older guy was telling him about how to use it without lights. He had never done it, and instead of building him a box, he cut a 55-gallon drum in half and cut a little doorway in the end, and it works just as good as the boxes. but you have to build you take 2x6s and build you a frame a little bit
Mm-hmm.
bigger than the barrel with just like the wire you use on the bottom of your brooders, and
Right.
set that down on that, and just keep it cleaned out from under, and put you some feeders, dry feeders on the yard, and you can raise the crap out of them.
Yeah, that's kind of, with Swift Creek. That's one of the things they had. They had them half barrels,
Yeah,
kind
they
of
work
propped
just
up,
as
set
good.
up with the. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They got it, like, I guess, down to a science with that. They said it kind of works out really good, and it's just and it's something similar that I seen in Puerto Rico, but the barrel's cut the other way. It's cut, this way versus laying down. The ones I see is cut long ways and set down on a grate. In Puerto Rico, I see them stand them straight up, cut them in half, and it's I guess obviously they raising less, and they put them up on that same grate, but it's just a little bit higher up off the ground, and they don't use any lights or anything like that. So I guess that concept kind of works. I always thought about it, and that was surprising that you tell me that you didn't use any lights because I think Tyler and them was the first ones that I seen that didn't use any lights out there in them brooders out and about in the fields.
Yeah,
So that's kind of what the way you doing right now. So you said after a month they come out the brooders and they go outside to those little houses.
yeah, they go out to the houses. You just have to watch. If you got your setup too close, they'll all try to go in one spot at night. And you'll have 100 or so trying to go in the same place, and that ain't too good. You'll have some underneath dead ones. If you don't, you've
Right.
got to spread them out pretty good distance.
Right, right. So you kind of spread them out. So tell me this. So how long? Okay, you don't have them in any type of. They actually just running free. They all return back at the end of the night. They go up in their little brooder things outside, or the little houses, as you call them, on outside. So tell me this. How old or when do you start with the worming? What type of feed you start them off with when they're out? Let's back it up. Coming out the brood, like, what do you feed them in a brooder inside the barn?
Well, when they first come out of the incubator, I give them 24% uh, starter grower, and
Okay,
in their water for 7 days, I run LS50 for seven
okay,
days, and then I run a Cox City Ostis, Cox City Buster, comes from Rick Hurst. Run it for
okay,
2 days, and then I use vinegar in my water about four
okay.
times a week. Uh,
And what type of vinegar?
Apple cider
Apple.
vinegar,
Okay,
and it don't matter what brand it is. All apple cider vinegar is about the same. I googled it. They got
right,
about the
right.
same rating. I mean, it looks like at Mother's would be the best, but it claims on
At the
there
end
it
of the
ain't no
day,
difference.
right,
Yeah,
exactly. That's what I was about to say. If you Google it, you'll find out. I mean, I don't know. It might be some particular difference, but
it may
finite
be.
difference. I don't know, but
It ain't.
yeah,
It may be, but if you got 800 babies, $4 a little thing to 99 cent that's gonna do the same
yep,
thing. I'm gonna use the ninety
yep.
nine cent. I mean, it does.
And it's gonna
It's
work
been
just
doing
as
great.
fine.
Yep.
Yep, that's exactly what I say. It works just as fine. So,
And then
then after you do that, where you go from there? I mean, what's your
uh,
next step?
day uh, day 14, uh, I hit them again with that Cox City Buster,
Okay,
and then then I just use the vinegar, and I do about twice a week. I give them the Vitamin Pro
okay. About
in the
twice a week.
water. Yeah, and then after that goes on, with the vinegar and the vitamin, and up until we get up to about a month old, and then I worm them in the
Then you worm.
brooder.
And what worm you start them off with?
I use that. Uh, I can't think of the name of it. It's Rick Hurst sells it. Starts with a B. Uh,
Okay,
but I Banestro or
so that's
something
the
like that. You
right. So
probably
that's the
know.
first wormer you start them off with.
Yeah, I use it, and then at a month old, and then we before I put them out, I run that LS50 again for 5 more days, and then they go
Okay,
out in their little houses. And from
right.
then on, it's just mostly just vinegar in the water every day, and that's about it.
And you said you put vinegar in the water every day, huh?
About it, yeah. Once I get them out there, yep.
Right. So Jay, two things. LS50. Why you putting that in the water inside? While they still in the brooder, and
Well,
then I'm. Mhm.
I reckon it's supposed to be for some kind of gut infections or whatever to keep them from
Okay.
getting a gut infection.
Hmm.
Since I've been using it, I can tell the difference. You don't have no puny baby chickens or nothing like that using this stuff. Uh, Rick Hurst, one put me on to the system that I use.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
and it's working out good. Good healthy chickens.
Right. Right. And then how about the vinegar?
I just Billy used to use that, and I seen him use it. So I've always used it before I even started using any of this other. I reckon it helps with the gut. Probiotics or whatever they call it.
Right. Right. Right.
Good for their gut.
Right.
And
Right.
another thing that still use is every now and then the red oak uh, bark off a red oak tree. Uh,
Riddle. And I was going to ask you that. So tell us a little bit about that and what you use it for.
well, first time I ever seen it, I was up Billy James, and all his waters was just blood red. And I said,
Hmm.
"What's wrong with your water there?" And he said, he used that bark off the red oak tree for it's supposed to help with like any kind of cold a chicken gets, kind of for their bacteria in their gut and all that. It's an old Indian thing. I didn't really know, but I used it because he did back in.
Right. Right.
And he
Right.
didn't use a lot of medicines. He used more of the old home remedies. Uh, which he didn't
Right.
have no incubator either. All his were hen hatched. And I think that makes a difference.
Yeah, I think from talking with a lot of people, I think it does make a difference. Um,
Yeah.
Again, I think it does make a difference, but I do understand why people use incubators because with the amount of some chicks that they're producing, I couldn't imagine them being able to natural hatch that many chicks. And again, I have never bred nowhere near that many, so I don't know. But I kind of get the concept and understand why. Because who
Well,
wants to
probably,
have 2,000 eggs and you only get 200 out of it because you try to natural hatch them?
yeah, they'll waste. But I think the reason them incubator chickens get sick more than the hens do is because you have them all so many confined to a
Hmm.
small area. Raising them up till they're ready to go out. More they poop in one area, the more infected it gets with. If anything lives in
Yep.
its own waste,
Bacteria and
is gonna
germs.
get
Right.
sick. And I think that's what
Yep.
more it is.
Yep.
The main thing about raising them is keeping your brooders clean and stuff like that. Uh, but even if you did
Right.
keep it clean without these medicines we got today, you wouldn't raise half of them.
No, that's right. I think technology plays a big part in being able to produce the amount of chickens that some of the game farms are able to produce a day, and that even goes with the human chickens that we consume. They're able to produce a lot more than they was able to produce back in the 80s and the 90s with the different technologies, medicines, vitamins, and all that kind of stuff. So tell me this. Is a question on here from Joshua Jones. He said, do you treat for fowl pox or anything like that?
No, I don't do no vaccinating. Uh, Last time we vaccinated with that Myrick's disease, we had more
Hmm.
get it, than I'd ever seen. Me and Billy both vaccinated. That's the year we had trouble with it, so we never did vaccinate no more. I don't have much trouble with that stuff.
Right,
And,
right, right, right.
and
That's right. Okay.
the pox disease, the way you get pox is letting your water get stagnated. I've had it 3 or 4 times since I've been in chicken, and it's from mosquitoes mostly is where I think it comes from. As long as you keep your water
Right,
pretty well clean and stuff, you shouldn't have no trouble with it. Uh,
right, right. So you don't
People
do any
bring that stuff
vaccinators
in,
in. Right.
People that visit your
Right.
yard bring them diseases to your yard.
Hmm. So tell me this. Now that you say that, um, and it's funny that you say that, is considering I guess half the country's in quarantine. But if you ever bring chickens to your farm, because that's a very good question. I mean, that's a very good point you made. If you ever did bring chickens to your farm, would you kind of separate them for a little bit, or you just only would get chickens from somebody how they're raising their chickens?
Well, anytime you bring one in there, he may not even be showing no symptoms and might
Hmm.
be carrying something, So if
Hmm.
I did, I'd put him way away from anything, but I don't plan on getting no chickens from nowhere else.
That's right.
If I
Right.
hadn't had what I got, I'd get out of it.
That's right. I got you. No, I completely understand that because, like I say, those are very valid points. And I asked that question because I know a lot of times, especially the guys getting started, they're out here buying, brood stock from one place, maybe brood stock from another place, maybe a stag from another place, and maybe trying to give them some ideas. If they are doing that, they need to kind of be cautious about bringing birds from all different places to the yard. And then also, too, really look at where they're coming from.
Yeah,
What's the conditions that they're leaving before you bring them to your yard, because it's maybe a greater chance that you might be bringing something to your yard that you don't want to be bringing there besides that
yeah.
bird.
A lot of that, where people think they got Myrick's disease, is just from overfeeding their chickens and them eating molded feed. It gets the same symptoms as a Myrick's disease, and it's just from overfeeding your chickens and the feed getting moldy and them finding old moldy feed. It's gut irritation, and then they get so weak they fall over, and then that's what happens to them. Overfeeding can cause you to think you've got Myrick's disease.
Right, and eating moldy food, because that's one of the things I dealt with after the storm in Puerto Rico, and a lot of people did, because the feed stores was closed, and the humidity over there is so high. Even with you trying to stock up with feed when you knew the hurricane was coming, it didn't matter because the feed wasn't no good. And about a week after the storm, the feed wasn't no good. You know what I mean? And I lost a lot of birds, not from the storm, but actually after the storm, because of that moldy feed. And I was feeding it and didn't even know it was molded. So my birds started acting all like, the necks was crook and just falling off and sick out of nowhere. Like, why did that bird get sick? It was fine. And
Yeah,
that's what it was. I dug through my feed. I actually made a video about it, posted on YouTube. I dug through my feed and video cameraed it and didn't even realize that I had been feeding my birds moldy feed. But I had thought, hey, I just bought this feed last week, but it didn't matter.
I had to throw a couple barrels of feed, barrels that hadn't been here but a couple weeks. When we loaded the feed, the barrels was damp. You better make sure your barrels are dry before you put your feed in there. Uh,
That's
yeah,
right.
one thing kills more chickens than anything does is moldy feed, especially that starter. If it ever gets molded, you've done killed that bunch.
Yep, that's a very, very valid point. And I'm telling you, I was lost. And it was one brood cock I had just purchased. And I had posted a picture on my Instagram. This was years ago. And just like I said, out of nowhere, went out there and I'm like, why is the bird acting like this? He just like couldn't even stand, wouldn't stand up, kept squatting down to the ground, couldn't get him to stand up. And I was like, I know I don't have anything in my yard. It's not nasty. Everything is clean. What's going on? And like I say, come to find out, stuck my hand in that thing, and before you know it, they just start dropping off. That's the thing about it. They had ate the feed, and they just start dropping off. Man, it was about 10 of them.
I,
All end
I
up dying.
I learned my lesson with that moldy feed when I about first got in it. When I raised my first chickens, my
Hmm.
incubator chickens, I Billy had an old camper set up there with a piece of wood on the ground with uh, what is them called, oyster shells on the bottom. He'd raise a bunch every year in it, early ones, and
Right.
he'd hatch them with a hen and put them in there a bunch at once with the lights, when it was cold out. But I was going to do the same thing, and I got me a camper, but I didn't know he had the wood on the bottom. And I just
Right.
started throwing my feed in there on top of them oyster shells and didn't know no better and just kept throwing the feed. I killed about 200 there. They was healthy for about 4 days, and then they just started getting sick and falling over. And it was that moldy
Wow.
feed. So
Wow.
that's one thing. If you're raising chickens, you better keep the feed up off the ground, especially for the babies.
That's right. No, that's exactly right. I mean, I learned my lesson. I learned it the hard way, and it seemed like it always kill, if not a lot, it always kill the most important ones. You like,
Yeah,
man, I it's just like, man, I cannot believe that one. And then when you sit back and realize that it was something that was so preventable. But again, that's something that's very overlooked. Guys just really don't focus too much on a feed based on the time. I just got it. It's not a big deal. It should be good. So they start looking for all these other reasons. And a lot of times it ain't nothing but that feed. Look
yeah.
at that feed.
Sometimes they harvest the feed. Last year, a lot of people was having trouble with the same thing you was having, and it was where they'd harvest the feed up too soon. It was still green,
Right.
and
Right.
that'll do the same thing. It causes the greens and stuff. And if you don't catch it right off and do something about it, it's gonna take him on out pretty quick.
Yep. You got that right. You got that
Uh,
exactly. It's something I had that was like one of the first issues I had got with Rick Hurst about is when it first happened. But like I said, it was done. It was a done deal then. I couldn't get no more feed anyway. All the
yeah,
feed stores were shut down. So
if you feed your chickens every day yourself, you know if something's wrong with a chicken. If he's leaving a little feed that he ain't leaving, you need to get him out right now and check, see what's the matter with him. There's something wrong with him. And if you can
that's
catch
right.
him, just stop eating and it's the greens, Pepto Bismol will knock it out.
Pepto Bismol, huh?
Yeah,
Wow.
Pepto
So tell me
Bismol.
this: how much of a Pepto you give him? That's the first time I ever heard that.
Put about 3 cc's down his throat for about 3 days.
And it'll clean it right out, huh?
Clean it out if you catch it in time. Now, if you done let him get out there and eat it where it's done eat his guts up, and he's got a pile of feed laying out there,
Right.
pile after pile, you too late. But like I said, if you know your chicken and he ain't acting like himself, it's something wrong with him. You need to stop, put your feed bucket down, and check him.
That's right. That's right. That is one of the things, like I say, with the 362. I always tell guys, man, if you get that 362 right, those last 3 days, you should pretty much know what to do because you should have a grave understanding of how that bird act, walk, crow, poop, how much water he drink. You should know everything. I mean, that's just my personal opinion. I know some
That's
people may
right.
say nah, but I'm like, man, if you truly's putting in that 362, you just said the same identical thing. If you going through there, you should know if something wrong with that bird. If he left
Well,
too much food in a cup or whatever the case is, you should know something.
yeah, you get people want to help you to feed and stuff. Sometimes it's
Hmm.
better off to do it yourself because a lot of them will run through there and feed, and they don't think you got to have no water. I think you better
Right.
go back behind them. I mean, yeah, they can go without feed for a few days, but they've got to have that water.
They got to have that water. And I can tell you one thing. That's another great point you made. You can't let everybody feed your birds.
Mm-mm.
I can tell you that right now. You can't let everybody feed them because a lot of time they feed them too much. From what I experienced, they'll feed them too much, and I don't know if it's because they say, "Well, I fed them. You told me to feed them, so I fed them." But yeah, it's not just going out there to throw food out there. It's like if you still see a whole bunch of food on the ground, then you feed them too much. If all
Right.
that stuff should be cleaned up.
Quick. They should have it cleaned up quick.
They should have it cleaned up quick. And if you keep throwing it out there, that's where you get that moldy feed. Especially if you feed them off the ground. I fed my birds in a cup, but still, even when they eating in a cup, they banging it. So some of the stuff is falling inside the cage, and then again, you got to be careful of that. You got to be very careful of that.
You got to be more careful around here in Alabama. As much rain as we have, and one guy I know, he's got a pretty good way he does it. I don't do it, but it seems like I might try it because it's a pretty good idea. He uses a potted meat can one day. Next can he uses a Vienna can. Keeps them hungry. Uh, might
So
want
he
to try that.
rotate, huh?
Yeah. Which
So
me, I
one day
just
he
use
gives
my
them
hand. I use my
right,
hand. I know about every chicken out there about how much they eat. I watch.
right, right. So he rotates them, huh?
Yeah. Sounds like a good
So
idea. I
one day
mean,
he giving about 4 ounces, the next day he giving about 3 ounces, the next day giving about 4 ounces. That's a good idea.
yeah,
That's a good idea.
it seemed like it to me when he was telling me about it. I hadn't tried it yet, but like I said, I'm always willing to try something new.
Well, that's great, Jay, that you got an open mind because some people just kind of get stuck in their ways. And I tell people all the time, you got to evolve or you're gonna fall behind. I can tell you that now because
Yeah,
everything is faster, stronger, bigger, and better as time go on, and it's a reason why. It's a
yeah.
reason why
Chickens has got better from what I seen. From years back.
they have, huh? That's a great topic. Let's just talk about that just a tad bit. Um, we can go back. So tell me now that you made that statement, you do feel as though chickens, as far as on a you know show breeding confirmation and stuff like that, they're a lot better today than they were back then, huh?
They seem like they're a lot faster, and get it done pretty quick. Which when they start doing that, some of them get away from the game. But it all comes with it. You got to try to breed something that can hang in there with that speed and all that.
Right,
That will stay there with you, and
right.
that's what it's all about. Trying to raise that perfect chicken.
Exactly. That's what everybody's chasing. Everybody got their own preference, their own methods and concepts of getting there. But at the end of the day, we all trying to breed that perfect chicken. So tell me this: do you think the birds are stronger? Do you think that's a result of genetics or a combination of the technology with the better feed or what?
What I see more is that they cut better and they're a little
Hmm.
faster. Is what I say. I don't think they're no stronger, but I think
Hmm.
they getting faster. They have been for years.
So that's probably more so genetics, huh?
Yeah,
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Well, I tell you, that's amazing because that's always like a hot topic. You have older school guys like, nah, these birds ain't no better. The ones we had back in the day were this, that, and some guys saying, nah, these ones they got today is better than the ones of the yesteryear.
well, some of them
But you
had them.
saying that you,
Some of them had them, but
uh-huh.
everybody didn't. Now it's got where about everybody has them. Just back 20 year ago or maybe just 10 year ago, just certain few was at the pay window. But now that was
Right.
be anybody up there.
You got that right. I tell you what, there's a lot of good birds today. Give me 1 second. There's a lot of good birds today. Um, I'm sorry, I was talking to my granddaughter. Um, it's a lot of good birds today, and like you say, back then it was just a handful of people that had good birds.
Yeah,
Now it seemed like that the question is not if you can get good birds, can you maintain good birds? It seems like that's the challenge of today because everybody can go out and buy good birds, but it seems like after a couple seasons, it don't look nothing like what they bought 3 seasons ago. You know what I mean?
yeah. Well, a lot of that's like your programs about. It's the cure of them. The
Hmm.
man they got them from probably took a little better cure than what they do. On the off season, they got these off season chicken men. That just when the season's in, they take real good care of them chickens. But it gets summertime, it's too hot to go out there and get that water. We get that when it cools off. Let him do without for 10 hours. And you
Yep.
can't do that.
Yep.
Causes broken legs and just all kind of problems. Uh, they
Right.
need access to the water 24 hours if they want it.
Right. That's right.
And that's what
That's
it
right.
is. It's a lot of these people that complain because they can't
Mhm.
win like this other guy ain't putting the work in like this other guy.
That's right. That's exact. Jay, I'm telling you right now, you are preaching to the choir and you 1000% correct. And that is the reason why the program is called 362. Because for decades, everybody just wanted to highlight those trophies. I'm like, listen, it's a reason why somebody keep getting them trophies. And there's a reason why you ain't getting them trophies. And I'm telling you, the big difference is that 362. It ain't no tricks in medicine and pops this and that and all that. That is all gimmicks, man. That is
Yeah,
all gimmicks.
yeah, might well go to the fair if you want to get beat out of your money.
I always say you put in that 362, when you don't come home with a big smile on your face, and you ain't got to come home with a trophy because you still can come home proud. You ain't got to come home with a trophy. You still can come home proud. But I can tell you right now, if you want to get closer to that trophy, you got to evaluate that what you're doing in them 362 days. Them hot days when you said it's too hot, the minus 11 degrees out there when you don't feel like busting them water cups. That is where your chances are made in that time frame. Not in the
Yep.
last three, because you already proved you gave your birds popcorn. You didn't know no better. You gave them popcorn, whole milk. Now, all that stuff you gave them, people tell you, nah, that's a lie. You ain't give them all that because you wouldn't have performed like that if you gave them all that. But you did.
That's exactly what they told me down there when they asked me. Said, how did you get them like that? And I told them about popping the popcorn stuff. Oh, you
Right.
lying to me. You just don't want to give your secret out. Hell, that is the secret. Pop you some popcorn, try it. But no, it didn't have nothing to do with that. It's just some days it's your day, and them old chickens was healthy. I can say one thing: the people I got them from had took good care of them. They was healthy
That's
chickens.
it. That's it. That's it. I can tell you right now, I have seen more healthy chickens win than I seen propped up. I call them propped up chickens. I have seen more healthy chickens win than propped up chickens. And I'll tell you another thing. I have seen more healthy chickens win that wasn't even pointed correctly, but they still won. And I don't mean they won by luck. They just won in the fly, anything like that. They actually earned it. That health, I am a stickler for health. That health go a long way, because I have seen a lot of birds that didn't have the ability, but they had the durability. They were healthy, so they was able to take it and they able to stay in there. That other one was fly, 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 boom, 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 boom. But after a while, you can tell that lack of health start kicking in, and you can tell. You can also tell in the recovery too. When them birds ain't healthy, they don't recover real good.
Yeah, uh, if they ain't healthy, you going the wrong way with it for sure. That's the
Yep,
main thing is having them healthy, and
yep,
that's the reason a lot of these younger guys is on the hill of these older guys because they got all
hmm
that energy, and that's all they got on their
right,
mind, and they going somewhere because they putting the work
right.
in. Uh,
That's right. That, that's a
that's
great
that's the
point.
way
I
I
mean,
came
that's
up.
exactly right.
The way I
hmm
came up, fast as I did because I put in the work.
Yep,
I come in from work, I change my water with a flashlight, and I put the work in, and that's all it takes. Which you got to have good brood stuff, and
right,
you got to have somewhere to start from. But if you've got good
right.
brood stuff and you take A1 care of it, there's no reason you shouldn't be up there with anybody in the country.
That's exactly right. I totally, totally agree. Because I have seen healthy birds win when people thought they didn't have a chance because of a lack of ability, they lack of this, a lack of that. And I'm telling you right now, what won that? That bird was healthy. And I'm telling you, it's hard to be the healthy one. It's hard to be the healthy one. You don't see too much of a difference when both of them are healthy. But when you got one that only had that 90 days of health care, and then you got this one that had them 362 days of health care, I promise you, that one with the 90 days better get it in the fly, because if he don't get it in the fly, he ain't gonna get it. His chance is
Well,
gonna be diminished.
that could be the reason I'm seeing more speed and harder fighting chickens is because of the healthiness of the chickens. People's
Mm-hmm.
got access to information
Yep.
to know
Yep.
what to do with a chicken. Where when I came up, nobody wouldn't tell you nothing. You figured it out until you met somebody that would tell you a little something. And
That's that's exactly right.
but the internet, they can get on there and get all the information they want, but they got to watch where to get it from because they might get some. Because this
Because
sport
all of it
here is
ain't good.
this sport here. Ever since I've been in, it's the only thing I don't like about it is the jealousy and envy of it.
Mm-hmm.
Supposed to be gentleman's sport, and most people don't want to see another man come up. Uh,
Yep.
they want you to come up, but not to the top of the ladder where they at.
That's right. Like my mother always say, they want you to do good. They just don't want you to do better than them. And
Right.
that's that line. That's that cheatering line right there. I want you to do good. I just don't want you to do better than me, because and we see it kind of like in this sport. You definitely see it firsthand. We don't we kind of see it in other elite sports, basketball and all that kind of stuff, and boxing. Everybody love them as they coming out of high school, going straight into the NBA. Everybody's cheering them on. This guy's amazing. Soon as he get up there and become too good, then they're like, oh, he's not as good as such and such from back then and such and such. I'm like, hold on. This is the same guy you was cheerleading and rooting on straight out of high school. Now he's in the NBA. Now he's breaking records. Now all of a sudden he's not that cool anymore. And I see the same thing in Gamefowl. You know, when you're struggling, when you're spending money, you're buying stuff from them, they'll tell you what you need to hear. As soon as you produce the stuff just as good as what they had, even though it came from them, their yard is based on your yard, but they're doing just as good or maybe even better, then it just seems like a whole different attitude is towards them. It's just
Yeah,
crazy.
it is. It's so much jealousy in this, and the thing about it, uh, that's really the best thing about this sport is I've met some of the best people that I've ever met through this, and that I wouldn't have met because of a chicken,
Right,
I mean, it's some good people, and
right. That's
but it's
exactly right. That's the truth. I have met some good people.
but it's not. A lot of people think this is just a big money thing, and for me, it ain't about the money. It's about the
Right,
people, and the
right.
friendships.
Yep.
Uh,
The
it's
relationships and the memories that you create.
right, because like Billy James said, you ain't gonna get rich doing this. I mean, he
Right.
uh,
And you
feeds
ain't.
too high and looks too bad.
What did you say, Jay? You said the fee's too high and your luck's too bad, huh?
That's right. Yeah, you feeds too high and you looks too bad. He said that on his interview. Keith Mays done that interview for
Yeah, I
Billy
seen it. I watched it.
James,
I got it sitting right here. Yep.
and he done a great job on it. And that's what he said. He said for anybody that's wanting to get in this, said don't get in it for the money because
Right.
as long as he's been doing it, he said I ain't never made no money at this. Uh,
Right.
and he sold chickens, to about anybody. He wouldn't hardly turn nobody down for chickens. Uh, at
Right.
the end of the year, Johnny Jumper used to buy everything he would let go, and a lot of the other ones would buy from him.
Wow.
Uh, that's the
Right.
way it went. Matter of fact, not to change subject, but Billy let Johnny have one of the roosters was a claret hatch. They had raised 11 of them, won 72 fights with them. They let Doc Robertson have one of them, and they let Johnny Jumper, I think, got the rest of them. He took them over to that President Marco, and at that time, they said that was the most money bet on one chicken in the Philippines had ever been bet, in the 70s.
Wow.
And I think he said
Wow.
guy called Bruce from over and told him he just got one wing feather cut out and said they fixed it, put it back in there and glued it in. That's all he got out
And
of it.
that's it.
Yeah, one wing feather. And I
Wow.
think,
That is amazing.
yeah,
So
it's
so so tell me this, Jay. And those are some very valid points. And I hope that a lot of people that's watching this, pay a lot of attention. I know some of the people that's watching this already know the stuff that we had just talked about, but I think those are some very valid points that you made coming through. And it kind of just reconfirms what we already know. Health, 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 health. It cannot be exaggerated. It cannot be drilled, more than what we drill in it. The fact of the matter is you got to have healthy birds. Doesn't matter what farm you buy them from, what bloodline you have, what cross you did, because it seems like a lot of times, all of those things are more important than the health. I mean, it's amazing when I travel, you have conversations about so much stuff, but very little conversation about healthy chickens. You have about, style and build and station and bloodlines and crosses and all of this. But you don't really, you don't really hear people talking about a lot of things when it comes to the health. And I see a lot of times over my years with my own eyes, a lot of guys can be better than what they are if they spent more time during a year taking care of those chickens.
well talking about breeders and things like that. You liable to get your chickens from anybody, but if they have one of them chickens run off, it's automatically that breeder's problem, which he
Of
ain't had
course.
none running. No, it ain't from the
Right.
breeder more than most of the time it's from because they didn't take care of the chicken property, and it
Yep.
don't matter what chicken it is. If it's not healthy, it's subject to quit.
Yep. Yeah, that I listen, I like I say, I see it all. I see it all and I hear it all. I hear all the excuses and everything that come with it. I had posted something some time ago saying blaming the breeder ain't the solution. You know, a lot of times it's not the solution. Blaming the breeder, a lot of times it's not the solution. You got to evaluate that 362 before you even talk about all the rest of that stuff that you think may be the problem.
Like me on my waters and stuff, you see all these guys talking about they change them waters every day, you know.
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
I can't change my waters every day. I change my water one time a week, you know, and I add
Right,
to it during the week. Now I change it on Sundays, every Sunday, you know,
hmm,
and try to keep them as clean as I can. If something, you know, one
right,
poops in it, we'll pour it out and change that. But it's got to wait till the
right,
week because I've got a job, you know. I can't go out
right.
there and change all them waters, you know. Matter of fact, reason long as they got clean water for a chicken to drink, you pour it out, they'll drink it off the ground, you know, before they will out that
That's right.
new one. But
No, that's right.
Billy, when I was young, we done a test on that. That's back when it was legal, and I was winning a lot,
Hmm.
and I went up Billy's one night, and Billy said, "What have you been doing?" I said, "I just got done changing all my waters with a flashlight. You know, I do it every day when I come in when I was younger." And
Right,
roof all day, and I wouldn't get in till after dark, and I'd change them waters. And I don't know why, because they can't drink water at night, but I did. And he said, "What are you doing that for?" I said, "Well, everybody says change them every day, so I've been winning. And I don't want, you know, I want to stay winning." And he said, "Well, just do a little
right,
test on that." He said, "Let them waters go for about a week and see if it makes any difference on your winnings, you know." And it didn't. It didn't make. As long as they had drinkable water, I'm not talking about stagnated water and stuff. You know, as long
right,
as you change that water once a week, and you don't have a lot of mosquitoes, you might have to change it a little more in the summertime. You know, mosquito try to
right,
get in it, but Clorox,
right,
uh, a cap of Clorox and a gallon of water will take care of that for a while. You know. But about
right,
once a week on the waters, I couldn't tell no difference. Now Billy, he wasn't much on changing his waters at all, and look what he done. You know, he was
right.
William McRae told Billy, uh, come up there and Billy's waters was so clean. He asked him, said, "Why is your water so clean?" Now this is when Billy was younger, in his 30s, and he said, you know, he's keeping them clean. He said, "Well, you're going wrong about it." Said, "Leave that, let it get that little green stuff on the side of the tar because they use tars." He said that was
Mhm.
penicillin for them chickens, that algae,
Hmm. Wow. So
which
he
I
let
don't.
him let the allergy build up in him, huh?
Yeah, and that was from William McRae. See, Billy said William McRae uh, tried to give him a house and everything to come up there just to take care of his chicken. Told him quit that job, move up there, and he'd let him have a brick house and stuff, take care of them chickens.
Wow. But Mr. Billy James said, nah, he good where he at, huh?
Yeah, that's right. He worked. Billy worked like 3 jobs. You know, he's logging and worked at a plant and done his gardening. Sold fruit and
Wow.
vegetables.
Get
Yeah,
that and did the chicken game.
yeah. Yeah, he was a hard worker, and even up in his older age, the doctor told him, you know, said them chickens was all that was keeping him alive. You know, he said, "You sit
Ain't
down,
that
get rid of them chickens." You sit down. He was 80 something. You know, he said, "You sit down." Said, "You won't live 6 months."
Yep. Yeah, that's what I tell you. Terry Shaw was talking about the same thing. He said them chickens keep him alive. Those
Well,
chickens definitely keep him alive.
well, they'll keep you in
So
shape.
so Jay, yeah, it keep you in shape and give you some joy, some happiness. I think that's one of the biggest things that these chickens get is giving you that happiness, that joy of going out there, looking at what you produce, feeding them, caring for them, just even looking at, just watching them.
Yeah, that's the best part of me is seeing what the turnout is. You know, take good care of them, see
Yep,
how they turn out at the end. You know, when they pinned and
that's
so
right.
forth.
That's right. Well, Jay, tell me this. I just want to talk a little bit about your brood pens. We already know where you pretty much got your bird from, the lines of birds that you breed and stuff like that. And you said that, typically the concept that the method that you use with the breeding, you do some inbreeding and some line breeding. How do you pick your brood stock? I know you said, you put the best looking stag, but to you, what is the best looking stag? What are you looking for?
Well, on my hatch chicken, I'm looking for a wide back. I don't want no squirrel tails, tails that stick
Okay.
way up here. I want a nice tail, and I want good wing length on them. Don't want
Okay.
wings dragging, but you want good size wings, and your back and your wings where you get your power from. So
Right.
you want to try to on your hatch chicken breed that, and you want a good station one, but really, a lot to do with that station and stuff is like I said, time of year you hatch them off. You
Right.
get them off early, you get a taller rooster.
Right.
I
And you
seen
said
Billy.
you're not really.
I seen Billy raise some 6 pound roosters out of a 314 cock.
What?
Yeah, he sold his hatch chickens one time and had to go back to a man. The only man that had some that he could get some back. The man bought them all. Said he wouldn't buy none unless he bought everything Billy had, every hen, every rooster. He wanted all them. When he loaded them up, he looked at Billy and said, "You won't whoop me no more with these hatch chickens, 'cause he got them all." And and Billy had 6 hens down on a walk. So as soon as that man left, he went and got them 6 hens off a walk and went over to a buddy of his house that had a late hatch stag. And he got that late hatch stag and bred them nearly 6 pound roosters out of a 315, 314 cock. Thing didn't have no legs no longer than your fingers. The brood cock didn't.
What?
So
Wow.
it's got a lot. The station has got as far as the tallness and stuff's got a lot to do with the time of the year. You get a late hatched, and he's gonna be smaller than that one hatched off in January out of the
That's
same
right.
brood pen.
That's right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Well, hey, listen, that's so you kind of walked us through a lot, man. It's just been amazing. Um, your whole journey. When you first started out, I guess you didn't probably well, I guess you felt as though you were in love with the chickens, but you didn't know you'd be carrying these chickens on this long. Would have been about 30 some years, huh?
Yeah, it's been a long time. It's probably over 30 years. Uh,
Wow.
I've enjoyed it, and like I said, the people that I've met, that's what's been the best thing out of it. I've got friends, that if I hadn't had a chicken and messing with a chicken in some type of way, I wouldn't have never met them.
That's right. That's right.
And
That's
and
exactly
most of the chicken people are pretty honest. Hey, some out there to fool you. You just got to be a good judge of character. And
right.
but majority are good people.
Yes.
It's just them few that's in it for just the money. That's the ones you got to watch out for.
Yeah, and I agree with you 100%. And the other thing is too, it seems like we give those ones way too much attention. I mean, way too much. We highlight those ones way too much, and it kind of makes it seem like there's more of them than it actually is. That's the way I look at it. You
Yeah,
know, uh, do find them bad when it is those bad ones. It's like a bullhorn, and then it makes people think that well, that's the representation of the sport because look at this right here. And I'm like, nah, that's not actually the representation of the sport. That's just the one that got all the attention. That's not how we are.
no. And far as this guy having the best chickens or me having the best chickens or whatever, ain't nobody got the best chickens. It's just certain brood pens that one feller might have that throws the good one. Just cause you get his line don't mean you getting the best chickens. It might just be
That's
that
right.
one brood
That's
pen
exactly
throwing them aces. That's the reason you have to have more than one pen of each
right.
kind to figure out, single mate and stuff to figure out where that good stuff is coming from.
That's exactly right. So you do single mate, huh?
Yeah, that's about all I'm doing this year. I've just got a bunch of single mate pens. I've got some pens
Okay,
with
all you
two
doing is
hens and a
single mating,
rooster.
huh? Right. Crooked about it. What's the name? It's my connection. I don't know what's going on. My connection is just kind of low on my end, and it's kind of dragging the video just a tad bit, just a tad bit. Um, Okay, Jay. So I want to ask you about that. So do you always typically single mate, or just sometimes you single mate when you looking for a particular?
Well, this year I'm trying to find out which one throwed them aces out of the pens I had together. Season before. Let's see where that good one's come from, and we won't have to feed that other, and we'll put her over setting eggs or something. Ain't no need of
Right,
breeding one that just
right,
throws average.
right,
Uh, that,
right. So
that just
that's
makes
a
for
good
more
concept.
culling.
Yep, just make for more color and more feeding because you typically feed them for a while before you cull them. So
Right.
that's why I guess, like you say, you look a season before, you look back and say, hey, these came out of these brood pen, but now I need to find out exactly what hen they came from, huh?
Yeah, and that's the hen right there that you want to keep your line going with.
hmm That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So, well, I tell you, Jay, man, it's been some very educational information. It's been some great information too, man, and we love to hear, those backstories, especially about Mr. Billy James. And we're gonna have Doug come on. I guess he done had some back surgery or something like that, but he's gonna come on too to kind of talk a little bit about Mr. Billy James, also his history and stuff like that with him. But man, we appreciate you coming on tonight, man. I think we got an earful. It looks like we probably at almost the 2 hour mark, an hour and 45 minutes. Like I tell you, this time go by. It's
Yeah.
hard. It's hard to get these interviews done in under an hour. I tell people all the time, it's gonna be over an hour. So charge up your phones. I can tell you right now, because I won't be surprised if it's 2 hours. But
Well,
we probably an
you
hour and
talking
45.
chickens, Jim? You
Yeah,
talking
exactly. When
chickens?
you start talking, you can sit here forever. You can sit here
Yeah.
forever.
I sent
I
them
know.
many 8-hour sessions up Billy's up under the shade tree listening.
Exactly. And it never got old, did it?
No, even though I'd hear some of the same stories over and over again, it never got old. I mean, it was all history because he was with all the greats they call them.
That, that's right. That's right. And I think that history is very, very important to be told. Like I told you earlier, we need to tell that history because it's a lot of cockers of today, a lot of game fire breeders of today didn't have the opportunity to be back there, during those days. So I think it's very interesting, entertaining to be able to listen to that history and know what those guys was doing back then. It kind of give you something to look for today, to kind
Yeah.
of see how they did things back then. It's like, wow.
Well, everybody needs to act accordingly because there's somebody somewhere looking up to you. So you need to act right.
That's right. You got that. You got that so right, Jay. So listen, tell me this, Jay. Is there anything before we close out this show? Some words of advice or something like that to some new game fowl breeders out there today that you would kind of suggest or you would at least like to see in the sport to, keep it moving in the right direction.
I just, if you can, find somebody out there that knows what they're doing and help them out, and maybe they'll help you out with some tips. You've got to put the work in yourself, but I mean, they can head you in the right direction. And
Right.
start out with good brood stuff and put the work in, and you should be right up there with everybody else.
That's right. That's right. So
You
that
it,
362 is extremely
that
important.
that brood stock purchase is your main. That's your first thing is get your brood stock, but don't just take a man's word for it. Go watch him. You know,
Right.
don't go for no one hit wonder. Get that man with
Right.
consistently. He may not
Right.
win every one of them, but the man that real consistent and shows that's where you want to get your stuff.
That's right. You got that right. You got that right. So, Jay, listen, man, I greatly appreciate you coming on, taking the time with us tonight, giving us some history, a lot of great information. You mentioned some things, kind of where you get your vitamins from and what kind of system you run and stuff like that. And I think all of that is extremely important because it's always something that you can learn from somebody. And I'm pretty sure you have learned and changed your methods as time went on, starting off from a few and now hatching out 800. It's a lot. I know you had a learning curve throughout that process, and you learned a lot of do's and don'ts, and you talked about a lot of that stuff tonight, which, like I said, I greatly appreciate that because, again, it's always something that you can learn from somebody who's actually doing it. Um, so, with that said, man, I thank you for coming on tonight, sharing your story, sharing your history, sharing all this unfiltered information that you have put out there. Again, this information wasn't available back when you was growing up, so you can really appreciate the value that somebody can get from just sitting here watching this stuff. So, um, but other than that, man, like I said, we'll go ahead and close the show out. Tomorrow, guys, we'll be having Mr. Don Lester on. We're gonna be here at same place, same time, 9 o'clock. This is gonna be part 2 of Don Lester's interview. He did one probably 8 months, 8 or 9 months ago, but he'll be coming on tomorrow, 9 p.m. on Journey to the Pit page again. And other than that, Mr. J, good night. I greatly appreciate it, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right, shout out to Ben Melton down in Mississippi.
I hear you, Mr. Ben Melton. Shout out to Mr. Ben Melton down in Mississippi.
Yeah, he
We hear you,
said put
brother.
me a shout out on there. I don't forget nothing.
Well, you gave me a shout out, man. Well, Jay, you have a good evening, brother, and I'll be talking to you soon, man. And thanks again.
Yeah, Jim, y'all have a good one.
All righty, brother.
All right.
All right, bye-bye.